Good morning, I am Kevin Price. Delighted to talk to you about you and your business. Going to jump right into our first segment. Jim Talerico, he is a relatively new contributor, but I'm excited about having him as a part of the program and the content that he's going to be bringing. He's with a company called Greater Prairie Business Consulting. Jim, glad to have you on the program. And by the way, he is an Uber social media networker. How many thousands of contacts do you have on LinkedIn?
I'm approaching 28,000. I think it's about 27.6 or 27.7.
Yeah, you need to be giving me more LinkedIn love, by the way. But I thought I was pretty good. I'm pushing 2,000, but you're like unbelievable. So you make me feel small. But Jim, tell us a little bit about your company, and then introduce us to your guests.
You bet. Greater Prairie Business Consulting provides results-oriented consulting services that makes improving any business, a quick, easy, educational, long-lasting, financial rewarding experience.
All right, your guest today.
Excuse me?
Yeah, and your guest today.
Okay, the guest today is Bud Callahan. Bud's the president of National Equipment Leasing. He has over 40 years of lending experience. I've worked with Bud for years, and he has plenty of lending sources and solutions that won't tie up all your assets. I invited him on the program today to talk about the industry and alternative financing solutions for small businesses that are struggling to get financing.
Very good. Welcome to the program. And it's interesting because I looked at the website, nationalequipmentleasing.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. You would not think that that's exactly what you're actually is really into funding when it comes to that equipment, correct?
Correct.
All right. Very cool. You kind of give us your elevator speech.
Okay, well, I've been doing this since 1978, which is a little longer than I want to admit.
I understand.
I'm a past president of the National Association of Equipment Lease Brokers. I was president in 2011, 2012, and presently the NAELB, as the acronym of our association, recently formed a leasing school to train new people that are coming into the industry to do it correctly and to do it ethically. And I'm the school director.
Very
good. Go right ahead with your questions, Jim.
Well, Bud, I'd like to talk a little bit about the market. Interestingly, Kevin, lending to small businesses is down about 50% since the credit crunch. Mm-hmm. And statistics reveal that the amount of money being lent to small businesses on an average is less than it was in the past. Lending standards are more stringent. And as a result, businesses are struggling to get financing. If you can get financing from a conventional bank today, you're probably going to have to pledge all your assets and personally guarantee the loan, which basically means the bank owns you. And so, but let's talk a little bit and educate the listeners about alternatives to financing for small businesses.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, Jim. Thank you. I've been, being in the business since 1978. I was also in the recession when we had the 18% prime rates. Those who have a little age on them probably remember that. But even then, there was lending because the funding sources remained intact. You had to pay an extraordinarily high interest rate, but still business was conducted. What was different in the meltdown 2008, 2009, 2010 is that funding sources actually went out of business because the independent leasing companies that really, not only leasing but financing companies that service small businesses were not necessarily banks. They were independent companies and syndicated their funds, usually through banks or hedge funds or whatever. Anyway, the syndication just went away when we had the meltdown, and those companies plain went out of business. I have never in my entire career ever seen a situation where 50% of the funding sources that serve small businesses went out of business. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened through this meltdown. So consequently, the availability to small businesses just evaporated, and then we had tightening of the government restrictions due to, I'm not trying to get political, but the Frank Dobbs bill really tightened the screws on banks to do on how they conducted business. So the banks had a tendency to go after stronger, more solid businesses and to ignore the small businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, it's also had really an existential war, if you will, on regional banking. They really are trying to force all banks to being mega banks. Just incredible. If you're seeing, plastic signs covering your former community bank, thank Dodd-Frank for that. And you don't have to be political. I'll be political. I think it's been incredible crony capitalism at its worst.
Oh, absolutely. It's a sad situation. The good news is what I've seen, in the recent year, perhaps, is a reemergence of independent funders that are joining our association, meaning the National Association of Equipment Lease Brokers, and our total goal is to service small businesses. That's what we're all about. The Fortune 500s, they got their own funding, and the Bank of Americas and the Chases and so forth will take care of them.
Yeah, no question about it. Jim, your next question?
Yeah, but let's talk a little bit about small businesses and the specific types of solutions you can provide. For example, asset-based lending, refinancing of their equipment, and so forth.
Okay. Well, with refinancing of their equipment, some sources will approach you, especially leasing companies, and I'm referring to, I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't name names, but I will. Okay, GE or CIT or somebody like that. Let's just say that they're willing to talk to you. They're going to talk about what they call a sale-leaseback, which means that you sell the equipment to them, and then they turn around and lease it back to you. Well, that sounds nice, but what happens is, if it happens to be something that's taxable, you pay sales tax twice.
That doesn't sound nice at all.
No, well, it happens, and that's what happens with a sale-leaseback. What I would prefer to do is just do a refinance. In other words, we do it on what we call an equipment finance agreement, which is a commercial document, which is financing. So the title stays in the customer's name. It's just a new funder will take a lien on the equipment, but you don't have to pay tax again.
Very interesting.
If you happen to be in a state like you are in Texas, which I think runs somewhere around 8.25%, 8.5%, depending on the county, that can be a significant amount of money.
Jim Talerico, I got to let you go. Thanks for your guest, Bud Callahan. By the way, you can reach Bud at nationalequipmentleasing.com. Great topic. Very important for people to do their homework. What's interesting, thanks to Dodd-Frank, they have practically regulated lending out of existence. Thanks to companies like National Equipment Leasing, people are still getting deals done, and that's what America is built on, are these business transactions. Jim, thanks for bringing this to us. Real short, how do we get more information about what you do?
Well, I'd like to encourage listeners to look for my contact information on your website. Hopefully we can help build your traffic.
Absolutely. Priceofbusiness.com. Find him on the contributors page. Thanks for being a contributor. Bud, thanks for being part of our program.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
You bet. When we come back, much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here can be found over there at usdailyreview.com. You're listening to The Price of Business.